1:30.
Recording in progress.
But we're
Okay.
still recording?
Yeah, we're still recording.
All right.
We have a one-time access for today.
All right, time's 1:30 PM, and I hereby call the January 11th, 2023 meeting of the Area Board of Zoning Appeals to order. Currently, we have 4 members present, 1 on Zoom, from a 7-member board. If you feel your petition needs to be heard by the full board, please let the staff know, and we will table your petition until the next meeting, when we have more board members in attendance. If you want your petition to be tabled, they need to know now. If your petition gets read, we're hearing it. Area Board of Zoning Appeals meeting is being held in person and virtually in the 4th floor council chamber of the County City Building with Zoom, video, and phone teleconferencing options available. As posted on our website, sjcindiana.com/agenda center. Regarding public comment, we will first ask for any public comment from those sitting in the chambers, then call on the members of the public attending remotely. If a member of the public attending remotely wishes to participate in the public comment portion of the meeting, they should indicate this by using the raise hand function and/or in Zoom, and/or by messaging the host in the chat function. Please clearly state your name and address for the record. We ask the board members state their name when making a motion in a second. Lastly, please silence your cell phones so they do not disturb the meeting. One last thing that I want to add is if you haven't been here before, staff will give a rundown of the petition. After we've asked our questions, the petitioner will have 10 minutes to come up here to the podium, state your name and your address, and if you have anything that you want to add or go over, and then we will continue on from there with the rest of the in-public, and then a rebuttal. Can we have roll call, please?
Mr. Tavernier?
Here.
Mr. Hawley?
Present.
Mr. Veldman?
Here.
Mr. Ritzma?
Here.
Mr. Roush?
Here.
Mr. Schaefer? Okay. 4 present, 1 on Zoom.
We still short a member?
Yeah. Next month, we should be good. Petition number 1, I have to recuse
yourself?
myself.
Mr. Holly, take a minute.
Location 11879 Price Street, as tabled. Owner Teresa A. Anderson. Requested action, variance number 1 from section 150.070, sub C1A1, to allow a detached accessory structure building area of 1,592 square feet, where a maximum of 960 is permitted. Zoning R Single Family District, County.
All right, this is Abby Wiles, Director of APC. We do not have a quorum present in person, and per our attorney, because we don't have a quorum present in person, no action can be taken on this petition. It will automatically be continued to the next meeting.
Okay. So,
Robert Hawley, Vice Chairman, is there anything we need to do further in regards to that?
No, you can't take any official action.
Okay.
so I guess my question would be is why do we bother allowing people on Zoom if it can't be a quorum?
Per the electronic meeting rules that were adopted in state statute after COVID, we can have members attend on Zoom, but we still have to have a quorum present in person. With DJ's recusal,
Understood.
we then only have 3. We don't have a quorum in person.
Can we override the rule?
That's a state statute, so unfortunately, no.
But we're a county, we can override the state, right? Understood.
So item number 1, the property located on Price Street has been tabled till the next meeting?
It just gets continued on, as if it weren't even heard today.
So it doesn't count towards the petitioner because of it.
Correct. So then we just proceed with reading of the second petition.
And at this time, should I call DJ back to the
Yeah.
meeting?
Yes.
DJ, would you please come back to the meeting and be present? Thank you.
During COVID, it was okay for everybody to not be here, but now it's not okay for everybody.
All right, petition number 2.
Location 60100 Mayflower Road. Owner Jeffrey Charles Beal. Requested action. Variance number 1 from section 154.070 sub C 1A1 to allow a 3,593 square feet of accessory structures where a maximum area of detached accessory structures of 1,591 square feet is permitted for existing accessory buildings on a proposed subdivision lot. Variance number 2 from section 154.107 sub C1 to allow a front setback of 74 feet from the center line of the street where a minimum of 75 feet is required for an existing single-family dwelling, R Single Family District, County.
Good afternoon, this is Sean Klein, Area Plan Commission staff. So unlike most of the variance requests you see where they're splitting off a house from a farm field, this property is actually zoned R Single Family. So in this case, the petitioner doesn't need a lot area variance to go down to the 1.14 acre for the residential lot. However, consequently, they do run into an accessory square footage issue when they put all of the existing accessory structures onto this smaller residential lot. Currently, it's legal because there is an agricultural use and it's over 5 acres, which even if it's zoned R single family, allows you unlimited square footage. Staff does recommend approval of the variances. These structures are pre-existing. They're well set back from neighboring properties and the roads such that there's not really any adverse impact on the public or the vicinity. And the front setback for the house, it's less than 1 foot from meeting the existing required front setback. So it's not really that much of an issue. There's the proposed lot. So you can see it has the house on there and then the number of accessory structures that are currently on the parcel. It's a view of the house. And then looking north along Mayflower and looking south. When we turn to the state law criteria, staff finds the approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, or general welfare. Really won't have any impact on general health, morals, or welfare, and the front setback of 75 feet is more than adequate to promote public safety. We find the use and the value of the area adjacent to the property will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner, because as I said, these structures are pre-existing. The closest one to the neighboring property to the south is set back 60 feet from that property line, and I believe the closest to the public right-of-way is set back 85 feet. And we find the strict application of the terms of this chapter would result in practical difficulties in the use of this property, because in order to separate the house from the agricultural portion of the property, to comply with the ordinance, the petitioner would either have to demolish a number of these usable structures or take an additional 4 acres out of the larger agricultural lot. And once it's separated, it's more than certain to fall out of agricultural production from there. So we do recommend approval of the variances, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
I have several.
Go ahead.
Is that okay? There may be better questions for Mr. Lang, we'll see in a second. So the remainder of it is still gonna be zoned R as well too, correct? So there's no outlot opportunity because it's not ag, right?
So that's kind of something we're still working through in the subdivision process. There is an outlot opportunity. We're not really as concerned if it's zoned R because, I mean, by right, they can have half-acre lots,
Right, so they can
so.
put multiple houses on there.
Exactly.
It's not changing the dynamic of what could occur in the future.
You're-
I'm channeling Sydney here if you can't tell.
You're absolutely correct.
It's okay, but
Yeah.
that, it doesn't matter either way if we do this or don't do this, they have the opportunity right now to subdivide this up, put half-acre lots in and go from there.
Correct.
Okay. Well, that answers all my secondary questions then, so thank you.
Oh, nice. That worked out.
Nope. All right, thank you. Terry?
Terry Lang from the Whiteman office. Our address is 715 South Michigan Street in South Bend. I represent the petitioner, Mr. Beal. As Sean had indicated, there's an existing farmhouse there and multiple outbuildings. Mr. Beal lives on the adjacent property to the north and east. He owns about 65 acres, I believe, total. This piece of property come up for sale, so he was interested in buying it. So he's purchased it. The home that's there, he has a contingent purchaser on the ability that we can get a variances that we're asking for, and we submit a minor subdivision according to the ordinance to make it a legal lot of record then, and then we can move forward with that. There are no plans for any additional homes on the property or anything like that. If you look on the aerial there, you can see just to the very far right side is where Mr. Beal's house is located back in the woods back there. And he was just looking to prevent anybody else from buying it and putting in a subdivision, basically. So most likely it'll continue to be farmed, and what small crop comes off of it will be a cash crop then for, income. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I'm good.
Me too.
Thank you. All right, we'll open it up to the public. Is there anybody that would like to speak in favor of this petition? Please step forward. Seeing none. Any on Zoom? Seeing none. Is there anybody that would like to speak against this petition? Please step forward. Seeing none. Any on Zoom? Seeing none. Public portion is now closed. You guys got any more questions? Or I'll take a motion.
DJ, I'll make a motion to accept the variances as requested, 1 foot. I couldn't tell the difference between that and the other houses down the line on that Mayflower Road. And as long as there's no additional structures being built, which they're already existing, I feel it works well within this community.
Donnie Ritzma, Howell, second.
All right, motion and a second. Shelley?
Mr. Hawley?
Yes.
Mr. Roush?
Yes.
Mr. Veldman?
Yes.
Mr. Ritzma?
Yes.
Mr. Tavernier?
Yes, based on testimony presented here today, the Area Board of Zoning Appeals, after careful consideration, grants your variances and will issue written findings of the facts. Thank you. Number 3.
Number 3, location 53520 Timothy Road. Owner Randall and Betty Saporsky. Requested action. Variance number 1 from section 154.092, A, to allow a lot area of 1.25 acres where a minimum of 20 acres is required for a lot in a proposed 1 lot and 1 outlot subdivision. Number 2, from section 154.092, sub D, to allow a side north setback of 24 feet where 30 feet is required for an existing barn. And variance number 3 from section 154.092 sub D to allow a rear east setback of 18 feet where a minimum of 30 feet is required for an existing barn. Zoning A agricultural district, county.
This is Sean Klein again, Area Plan Commission staff. So this parcel is zoned A agricultural, so it will need the lot area variance that you're accustomed to. In this case, they're also requesting a side setback variance for an existing barn. The side setback is from the north property line. It's at 24 feet versus the 30 that's required. And then to the rear, they're requesting a 18-foot rear setback where 30 would be required. Staff recommends approval of the lot area variance and the side setback variance from the north property line. This is because it's already legal nonconforming with respect to that side setback, whereas we cannot support the rear setback to 18 feet because this is a new property line that's effectively being drawn through this subdivision. So it's hard to find that there's any practical difficulty in not complying with the subdivision or the zoning ordinance moving forward. So here is the house. And you see the accessory structures. The larger agricultural parcel to the north, the petitioner, property owner of this parcel, owns 166 acres up there as well. And looking to the north and to the south. Turning to the state law criteria, we find that the approval would not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, and general welfare. So they're creating the 1 1/4 acre lot with the house and the outbuildings, and then leaving the cultivated land in an outlot. So it's not providing for any additional residential use in the agricultural district. There's very little danger that this action ever would result in an additional residential use, particularly because the outlot itself has no frontage, so it would be difficult to get any variances to enable a future property owner to try to build a home there. Turning to the use and value of the area adjacent, these are existing, it's an existing structure that it's not meeting that side setback that is requested. So allowing it to remain on the parcel, we feel would not result in any adverse impact on the use and value of the adjacent area. When we turn to the third criteria, strict application would result in practical difficulty for the lot area variance because it would prohibit the house from being sold off, and then the 7 acres retained with the 166 acres that are currently under the same owner. The side setback from the north, there's practical difficulties there because it is existing and it's currently not meeting that side setback, and that side property line isn't moving at all. But when you get to the third variance, we don't feel that there's practical difficulty. That rear property line could be drawn 30 feet from that existing structure rather than the 18. This will take a trace amount of acreage from the proposed outlot, but it's really only 0.08 acres or thereabout at the end of the day, so that's not really any substantial amount of land taken out of agricultural production. So staff supports the first 2 variances, but we support denial of the third due to lack of practical difficulty, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Terry?
Terry Lang from the Whiteman office, address 715 South Michigan Street in South Bend, represent the petitioners here. The petitioners are the adjacent property owner to the north. They are farmers. The parcel immediately north is 160-some acres, of which there's all other parcels in the area that they also farm. They purchased this property for the agricultural property value a couple years ago. They've decided they want to sell the home off. They're tired of being a landlord, and they have a contingent purchaser for that. They had asked for the parcel size to be the yard area. The variances that we're asking for is the yard area that is there. We would be taking, as Sean had indicated, a portion of that out of agricultural production, which was the main reason the guy bought the property to begin with, was for all the agricultural use of the property. He didn't care about the house so much. So, you know, the variance that we're asking for on that easterly side, the 18 feet is plenty of room to do maintenance on the side of the building. It's not like we're asking for 5 feet or something like that. So the 18 feet is plenty of room for that. It's what the farmer had, what the owner had been farming up to all this time also. So, you know, if it's the staff is going to require it, you know, so be it, but, you know, he'd like to farm everything he could.
Okay. Any questions?
I guess like, yeah, it's 18 feet. It's like when you're negotiating for a car, who cares about $200, right? I mean, if you're $200 away, somebody's got to give. But,
Yeah.
So leaving the tillable land in there, just because the lot line is moved doesn't mean he still can't till it if he has an agreement with the next homeowner, correct?
Potentially, yes.
Yeah. I just, you know, compounding variance upon variance upon variance, we're trying to, it's one of those things.
But we were trying to save ag property
I get
too,
you,
so.
yeah. I see both sides of that coin for sure.
If Sid was here, he'd be jumping up on the table with his muddy boots. So, but I understand it's not a large portion of it, but it's what's been maintained for the yard area previously.
Well, I mean, he could have an agreement with this guy that he can still till it, but then this guy sells and
Oh, I get it,
the
yeah.
other guy wants to put up a fence.
Yep. He wants that piece of his property back, exactly. I get it.
I don't think I have any questions. Anybody else? Lance? You got any questions?
I am good, Mr. President.
All right, thanks, Terry. We'll open it up to the public now. Is there anybody that would like to speak in favor of this petition? Please step forward. Seeing none. Any on Zoom? Seeing none. Is there anybody that would like to speak against this petition? Please step forward. Seeing none. Any on Zoom? Seeing none, public portion is now closed. You guys got any more questions, comments?
No, sir. This is Joe Velleman. DJ, while I appreciate the staff's view on the 18 feet or 12 feet of difference between the two, I do believe that leaving the tillable land in that state without having to make major, I'm not saying major, but complications for subsequent homeowners. And this has been an existing property in this same state for as many years as I've driven down that road. I would make a motion that we approve all three variances as requested.
Donnie Ritzma, I will second.
Motion and a second. Shelley?
Mr. Hawley?
Yes.
Mr. Roush? I'm sorry, one more time?
He's losing Wi-Fi connection.
Did you hear me?
I did not. One more time, please.
Yes, I agree.
Thank you. Mr. Velleman?
Yes.
Mr. Ritzma?
Yes.
Mr. Tavernier?
Yes, based on the testimony presented here today, the Area Board of Zoning Appeals, after careful consideration, grants all three variances and will issue written findings of the facts. Thank you.
Prior to the reading of petition number 4, the petition has requested that this be tabled to the next meeting.
Petition number 5, location 13050 State Road 23, an unaddressed abutting parcel to the south and east. Owner, Diversified Real Estate LLC. Requested action. Variance number 1 from section 154.070 sub C to A 1B to allow a 6-foot-high ornamental security fence to be located in the front yard where a maximum height of 4 foot is permitted. Variance number 2 from section 154.332 sub B to allow the preservation of existing natural landscaping in the side and rear yards along the south and west lot lines abutting a residential district where type 2 full screening landscaping is required. Zoning C Commercial District, County.
Good afternoon, Carl Brown Grimm, Area Plan Commission staff. The petitioner is seeking to allow a 6-foot tall security fence along the front lot line of the property and relief from the landscaping screening requirements due to the fact that the property abuts a residentially zoned parcel to the south. Staff recommends approval of these variances. We feel that the location of the property along with the irregular shape constitutes significant practical difficulty in the development of the proposed commercial business on site. These parcels are zoned C commercial. They are known as Lot 7A and Lot 7B of the diversified major subdivision located just off State Road 23 in Granger. Lot 7B is that L-shaped parcel, and the southern portion includes a large retention pond and a cluster septic system area, both of which, as you'll see, are heavily wooded. The petitioner is proposing a self-storage use and will only be developing the north area of that property. As part of the proposed use, they are requesting, again, a 6-foot security fence around the perimeter to only be around the developed area. Here's a site plan of the self-storage facility. It's kind of small, but it shows the fence begins approximately 10 feet or so off the east, 10 feet or so east off of the northwest corner. It goes south to the opening, and then along where the access drive is there, and then south to the lot line of 7A, and then east, and then north again. To prevent confusion, I've highlighted here on the PowerPoint the exact portion of the fence that needs to be legalized, approximately 120 lineal feet of fence. This is a view of Lot 7A and 7B. The southern portion of Lot 7B, as you can see there, is already screened. Here's the western portion of the lot to be developed, and you can see the access drive along there. This is the mainly just 7A looking west and then kind of north of the lot. These last couple of slides show the rear portion of the property where the retention pond is, and then the cluster septic system, again located at the far south of Lot 7B. Turning to the state criteria, approval of the requested variances are not going to be injurious. As we've seen, the lot is located at the end of a private drive, and due to the irregular shape of the lot, only a small portion of the proposed fence is to be located within that front setback. Because of the nature of the road and traffic seen in the area, the proposed see-through security fence will not block sight and be injurious. Similarly, the unused southern portion of the property is enough to screen the residential use to the south from the operations of the self-storage facility, and thus will not be injurious. Approval will not affect adjacent property values in any significant manner, given the surrounding commercial uses and significantly naturally screened residential use again. We do not feel that the requested variances are going to change property values. And then finally, staff does feel that there is practical difficulties as the strict application of the ordinance would prevent the petitioner from the ability to provide consistent screening for the proposed commercial use. And then similarly, the landscaping ordinance would require the petitioner to plant 4 evergreen trees for every 30 feet of lot line that's abutting that residential house. That would be 115 trees total to a portion of the land that, as you've seen, is already providing screening and buffering the self-storage use from the nearby residential structure. Also, we have received 1 letter of support for this variance from the neighbor directly to the west, that East Lake facility, and you should be able to have that in your packet. And if you have any questions, I'll take them now.
Carl, what does the cluster septic system serve?
I think it was an old septic system before the Granger sewer went in. I think it was just for the that whole area, the Martins and that commercial area.
Yeah, because the system that goes around the town of Granger is right close by.
Yeah, and I think all those lots today are now served by their sewer now.
As far as you know. Okay.
Yeah, as far as I know.
Okay, thank you.
That retention pond won't have to get any bigger?
No.
That would be addressed by engineering in reviewing the site plan depending on how much hard surface was being added.
Anybody else got any questions? Okay, thank you. Hang on one second. Name and address, please.
No problem. Mike Danch from Danch Harner Associates, 1643 Commerce Drive here in South Bend, representing the petitioner. As basically the staff had mentioned, what we're asking to do is put an ornamental fence around a proposed self-storage facility. This is a unique situation where we actually did the design for this diversified major subdivision, and it was developed on a private roadway. And per the ordinance, they still look at that as a public street. And so what we're asking for is to be able to put security fencing around the self-storage facility. This is ornamental fencing. It's not the typical 6-foot chain link fencing that you would see around one of those types of facilities. So they are trying to do the upscale portion, but because of the way that the orientation of the lot is and the configuration, that fencing would fall in that front yard setback based on the way the ordinance is described. So what we're asking to do is to be allowed to have that 6-foot fencing in that front yard setback area. The second variance that we were asking for, and the staff described it very well, is this lot, when we developed this subdivision, the retention basin that you see here, when we designed the major subdivision, it's designed to handle all the surface runoff for all the commercial development within the diversified major subdivision. So as you were asking the question, the basin that's there today is already sized correctly for this proposed development as well. So there won't be any changes to that proposed retention system. We did submit a final site plan for them to take a look at, just to make sure that there wasn't a question about additional storage that had to happen on that retention area. The septic area or the cluster system that's also on that same lot is still being used by all those developments in the diversified major subdivision. At some point in time, if there would ever be a health issue, they could hook up to the Granger system. But as of right now, all those commercial uses that you see in diversified major subdivision are using that cluster system. And in this particular case, there's not going to be a lot, but there's just going to be the one office that will be in the self-storage facility that will be tied to that cluster system as well. What we would ask for, hopefully, is that the board would grant the variances for that front yard setback for the ornamental fencing, and that we'd be allowed to be able to use all the existing natural landscaping that's around the perimeter of the larger lot for our screening. And if you have any questions for me, I'd be glad to answer them.
The only question I had was the picture on there with the fence, is that the exact fence going to be there?
Yeah, that was the one they gave me. So I'm going to assume that that will be the one that they're actually going to use for the perimeter fencing.
Because I guess if it's security fencing, how secure is that fence?
It's actually pretty secure. I mean, from the standpoint, it's a 6-foot high. It is it's the aluminum, but we've used it in other situations. The other good thing that they're going to be doing here is they'll have the typical electronic gate as well. So you have to have like a reader card to be able to get in and get out of the facility.
It's just been my experience, and anytime perpetrators see a brand new person go to a self-storage facility, they're broken into that same night. So security is kind of an arbitrary thing there for me. So why do they even put a fence up it a lot of times? But understood.
Apparently, they own more than one self-storage facility, and they've been using this, and I guess it's keeping down, like you're saying, any of the burglars that go through these.
Understood.
And they will have a lot of lighting as well on the buildings for security purposes.
Any other questions?
Nothing? Donnie?
No.
Okay. Lance, no questions?
Nope.
Okay, thanks, sir.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we'll open it up to the public. Is there anybody that would like to speak in favor of this petition? Please step forward. You got 5 minutes. Name and address, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Mike Dobson with Diversified Real Estate. Our addresses are at 514 Dixie Way North, South Bend, Indiana. As Mike indicated, we are still involved with the cluster septic system out there, and we, every 5 years, submit a deferral from the Granger Sewer District. We developed this site just prior to the Granger Sewer District going in. To clarify for you, Bob, in addition, Joe, the fence is the type of fence we're going to put out there. The lighting is obviously going to be important, but there'll also be about 30 security cameras out there in regards to any activity that goes on at the site. This site also has a Goodwill, a Taco Bell, a Sherwin-Williams, a Mancino's Pit Stop on the front side, along with East Lake Gym that will be immediately to the west of it, and Teachers Credit Union, which will be immediately north of Lot 7B. So the back 250 feet where both the septic system and the retention pond end is going to stay just like it is. And so it's near 275 feet to the building from what is the south border. And that residential lot that is on the south side of it is a home that is on Cherry Road, but has near 1,200 foot of depth on their land. We ask for your support in regards to the variances. Thanks.
Anybody else that would like to speak in favor of this petition, please step forward. Seeing none, any on Zoom? Seeing none. Anybody that would like to speak against this petition, please step forward. Seeing none. Any on Zoom? Seeing none. Public portion is now closed. You guys got any more questions, or I'll take a motion?
Robert Hawley, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the petition as presented for the property located at 13050 State Road 23, as presented.
I'll second the motion. Joe Velleman.
Motion and a second. Shelley?
Mr. Ritzma,
Yes.
Mr. Roush,
Yes.
Mr. Hawley,
Yes.
Mr. Velman,
Yes.
Mr. Tavernier.
Yes, based on the testimony presented here today, the Area Board of Zoning Appeals, after careful consideration, grants your variances and will issue written findings of the facts. Thank you.
DJ, prior to moving on to items not requiring a public hearing, we skipped over election of officers. It was left off to your agenda. We are required to do it at the first meeting of the year. Brandy and I have communicated. We'll be fine with the petitions that were just heard, but we need to go ahead and do that now.
I'll make a motion to retain Mr. Tavernier as president of the council, or what do we call it? Council? Chairman?
Chair.
Chairperson.
Chairperson of the Area Board of Zoning Appeal.
And Bob
I
is
don't want to
vice.
jump at once.
Second, Lance Roush.
Second, Bob Hawley.
Thank you.
Brandy, do I do this motion in a second? Any discussion or other nominations?
That was what I was going to say. We need to find out if there's any other nominations. It doesn't sound like it.
Okay.
Do we need a
All
roll call
opposed?
vote since Lance is on Zoom?
Yes, unfortunately.
Mr. Ritzma,
Yes.
Mr. Hawley,
Yes.
Mr. Velman,
Yes.
Mr. Roush,
Yes.
Mr. Tavernier.
Yes.
And we need our vice chair.
Bob, you in it for another year?
Yeah. You good?
I'll make a motion to elect Mr. Robert Holly as vice chair of the Area Board of Zoning Appeal for 2023.
I'll second. Donnie Ritzma.
Any other discussion or nominations?
Not unless somebody else wants to do it. I'm good.
It'd be a little weird since I second you, but
Vote?
Mr. Roush?
Yes.
he's looking straight at me.
Mr. Bellman?
Yes.
Mr. Hawley?
Yes.
Mr. Ritzma?
Yes.
Mr. Tavernier?
Yes. Board's just as bad as the BK Club board, no contention.
All right. I apologize, with all of the excitement with our non-quorum and our tabling, it completely escaped me.
Well, it was on the agenda, so.
We'll let it slide this time.
All right.
Can I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that, well, no, not noticed, but you brought up the fact that you wanted to table Burdette Street.
Oh, that was requested to be tabled by the petitioner prior to it being read. An administrative tabling is available up to twice prior to the petition being heard by the BCA.
Yeah, I'm aware of that, but was the petitioner, can I ask, was the petitioner here?
Yes.
He just left.
So he requested that probably because of what he might have said in the beginning, that we didn't have a full board or quorum. Or,
That's what he told me.
Yeah.
okay, thank you, just
Yep.
information. I
Alright.
thought that was him back there.
Yeah, all the way back. I apologize for the interruption. DJ, continue on with findings of fact and the minutes.
Once you realize it's really just her meeting anyway, doesn't matter.
I know. All right, findings of facts.
I'll make a motion that Bob Hawley to accept the findings of the facts for the Wednesday, December 14th, 2022 meeting.
Donnie Ritzma, I will second.
Mr. Roush?
Yes.
Mr. Bellman?
Yes.
Mr. Hawley?
Yes.
Mr. Ritzma?
Yes.
Mr. Tavernier?
Yes.
You guys only did 2 things last month?
Yes.
And yet the
Glad
meeting
you
was
could
still
join
like
us.
an hour long.
So minutes from November and December.
Can we do them together? They have to be separate.
Brandy, can they do these together?
If there's changes that somebody wants to make, I would say do them separately. If you're saying you want to approve them wholesale, I don't see a problem doing them together.
And DJ, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the November 16th, 2022 and December 14th, 2022 minutes.
Bob Hawley, second.
Mr. Ritzma?
Yes.
Mr. Roush?
Yes.
Mr. Bellman?
Yes.
Mr. Hawley?
Yes.
Mr. Tavernier?
Yes.
Anything else we forgot to do?
Well, now we gotta do roll call to dismiss.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Donnie Ritzma, I'll second.
Mr. Hawley?
Yes.
Mr. Roush?
Yes.
Mr. Bellman?
Yes.
Mr. Ritzma?
Yes.
Mr. Tavernier?
Yes.
Have a good week,
Goodbye,
everyone.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
See you next month.
Be good.